Mikee P, Mike Probozzi in the Money Players podcast. Keeneland Friday, closing day at Keeneland. I've been trying to get Michael Domabyl on with me the whole meet for a Keeneland show. We waited till the last day, Michael.
Yeah, I think we got Bluegrass Day, which was that weird Tuesday. We handled that one, and now we're going to handle closing day. So, kind of the bookends of the meet. We're gonna go rattle through these as well.
It's been a fast and furious meet at Keeneland. I thought it's been fantastic racing. There's been plenty of good prices and good payouts for the meet. Closing day, they have 10 races. We're going to look at late pick 5 on Friday, and we're going to finish up this Keeneland meet, head to Derby week next week because Churchill Downs starts on Saturday. We're going to look at this pick 5, and Michael starts in race number 6 on Friday. It's a 1X, 7 furlongs on the dirt. I thought a pretty interesting race to kick it off. What say you?
Yeah, I thought it was, there's a few different ways to go in here. I think the conversation has to begin with the number 5, Sam's Treasure, who Wesley Ward, this filly shows up for him. It kind of appears to me like he's been pointing to this spot for a while now. Ward is like type of barn that really likes to bring his best guns out at Keeneland. And I know she's been kind of stuck at this level for a little bit now. She's run the N1X level 5 times before this, but I thought those fields that she'd been facing on dirt prior to her last start were kind of better than this group. And then I'm willing to draw a line through the Kentucky Downs effort. Nick has her at 2-1 on the morning line, which I don't think that's any fair. That's necessarily fair value, but I do think that she is far and away the most likely winner. Would be an A on any of my pick 5 tickets. I think the number 3, Zadorsky. I think the turn back is really going to work for this Whit Beckman trainee. She had been running a lot better when going around 1 turn. She had a couple disappointing efforts around 2 turns at the fairgrounds, but I think this cut back to 7 furlongs is going to do her well. And then my top pick is actually just because I'm using 3 A's equally, and this is going to be the longest price of those 3 A's, is the number 8, Come As You Are. I know Mott has been a little snake bitten this meet with a bunch of seconds, but I think this filly is going to have a decent chance to get up. I think there's enough other pace in the race, and she's one that can be closing. And I just don't think like this, you sometimes get the feeling that some of these Mott trainees aren't really like suited to the Gulfstream Park dirt surface. And I kind of feel like that for Come As You Are, trying to close into that last race, first off the bench back in February, now comes here. And I think this 7 furlongs at Keeneland with a little speed in front of her is gonna suit. And then the last one I would throw in, kind of the wild card in this event, I'd like to get your take on her, Mikey, is the number 2, Tiz Silver, just because she is another one that likely to be coming from behind, but that might just have been by circumstance last time where she kind of closed down that field at Turfway. Pretty eye-catching win. It's coming from that far back. Gets Pratt aboard, and I just wish I was more confident that she was going to handle the dirt to make her an A, but I think she is kind of the wild card in this field, and so I would put her as kind of the lone B in this spot.
Well, she's certainly bred for the dirt, and not that her dam was a bit of a low level claimer, but she's produced some decent ones, and her the couple that she has produced, that was an eye-catching win at Turfway, and Pratt rode there and now rides back here, got blinkers in that spot. So there were a lot of changes there. Different trainer, different surface, got blinkers, new jockey. There were a lot of things that happened in that race that were different for her. My question is does she get the pace in this race? I'm not sure about the pace here. There's not a ton of speed. There's some, but there's not a ton. I think it all depends on the one here, Tiarella. You didn't mention this one, which was a little surprising. That race at Aqueduct there on March 23rd was really nice. She popped out of the gate, really kept improving her position. And the fact that the Paz hasn't had a starter at the meet, and they show up with this horse in this race off that nice speed win after a double bar layoff, I think is very interesting and a horse that I would have to use in this race. Maybe I don't know if that was an aberration there, but they always really thought a lot of her, being that they started her back in January of last year and raced her in a stake as a maiden there in February at Aqueduct. Then she goes away, comes back off the bench, and just blows them out. And then they ship here for this race. I'm sure they could have found other spots for her. So I just think that, what's your take on her? Because I mean, I'm curious to think, why would they ship here? What's your thoughts on her being the lone speed? I mean, there's lots of things to kind of decipher in this race.
Yeah, I kind of had a more negative take of her just because I think the quality of that field in the maiden special at Aqueduct isn't necessarily up to the par of what some of these other horses who have been knocking around this level have faced yet. And she is probably the speed, but I mean, breaking from the rail, she's going to have to go anyway. But I do think that I don't think Sam's Treasure is going to let her get too far away and probably just going to be stalking to the outside. And I just kind of had a view of that one being a little bit better. And if they're going to get kind of a similar trip, then I think she's going to put her away. But you made some good points on Tiarella, and you get Irad shows up here, and he's normally on live ones around Keeneland. So I can't totally discount her. She just wasn't for me in this spot.
What odds do you think you'll get on the 8 here? Because she's really never taken a lick of money. I mean, at 14-1 last time, 28, 32, 12, 13. I mean, I know she's 8-1 morning line. What's your thoughts on the price there? Don't you think she should be 12, 15, 20-1 in here?
I think she should probably be around 8. I think 8 would be fair. I think there's a few other ways to go in this spot. I don't think Sam's Treasure is going to be 2-1. That's kind of my take on the line. I think she might be a little closer to like 3-1, 7-2, which is going to kind of bring everybody else a little bit closer. And I could see Come As You Are around that 8-1 price. So I think Tiz Silver probably is going to take a little bit of money off the 8-1. But this is a tough line to make. So. But I do think Come As You Are represents the value for me in this opening leg, but I do want a little bit of coverage.
Yeah, this is a tough race, and I agree with you on the 5. I think probably used, but it's probably going to be underlaid. I do like the Keeneland race back on April 5th last year, raced pretty well. But again, the trip is certainly a factor here, and Wesley Ward always takes his money. It's a really tough opening leg there on Friday to start the pick 5. Let's go to race 7, straight 3-year-olds, and it's a maiden special going 6 furlongs here. And I'm back on the rail again. I must need a lot of ones to win on Friday with Il Silvino. This is a maker first timer here. They paid $800,000 for this horse. Now it's a 3-year-old firster. You get Luis Saez. The horse is well prepped, certainly well bred to win early. Has some some stakes winners in the family. So I do think that this horse is well meant. I think to start on that last day at Keeneland, it's Resolute Racing. They're probably trying to, have a good account for this one early. So I think ready to win, a horse that I definitely want on side in this race. But there's others that I think you can play. I mean, the 7 Life Reward is going to take a lot of money for Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt, and they have to Life Is Good there. So we know how good that horse was. Won $4.5 million. Won the Breeders' Cup mile on the dirt. So plenty of class in the breeding here for this one. Cox does very well first time out. So hard to look past that horse. But I think that there's some other sneaky ones in here. The 10 I think is interesting. I like John Ortiz. I like him first out. He's had 3 wins at the meet, and this one has some sneaky breeding also. I think you get Rosario, which is not really a usual jockey for him. So I think that one could be okay. And then the 11's another one, Midnight and Finley, a barn that is sneaky first time out, can win with a price. You have a little bit of breeding here also. So there's others. If you can get rid of the 1 and the 7 in this race, it would be a huge separator. What do you think here?
Yeah, I tend to think that with it being the last day of Keeneland, I think that one of the major barns is likely to unveil a pretty good one here. I do think the number 7 Life's Reward is super logical. Would be an A on my tickets. Gary and Mary West kept kept this one after having Life is Good sell out from under them as they're the breeder of Life's Reward, and his full brother ended up selling to Windstar. But I wish there was a video available for Life's Reward's most recent works, but with it being Payson, we'll just have to trust in Brad Cox here. But I do think that, I mean, as live as can be, probably they're going to be your favorite as well. I think the number 4, Don't Worry About Nuttin', for Ward is another one that I want as an A. I watched one of his most recent works. He worked with a 3-year-old named Glean and broke off behind that one, but galloped out in front. So I thought that was a nice debut. Those would be my 2 A's in this spot. Il Cavallino, I get your points with Resolute Racing, and I was kind of anti-Resolute Racing, a purchase that debuted and ran off at Colonial Downs. So be opposed at your own peril. But I did watch the work on March 28th for this one, and some things kind of went awry where he had to go shift out behind a horse that was kind of galloping around the track. But then when he came back and leveled out, he wasn't able to catch his workmate. So I thought that was a slight negative on who could be the morning line favorite. So 4 and 7 for me is the A's. I think the horse with experience that I could keep on side is the number 9 White Whale. Although a couple of those turf works kind of kept me off from putting him on the A line, because I think it's going to take. I think this could be a pretty productive maiden race to close out the meet, and I think one of the 4 or 7 is going to turn out to be pretty good.
Yeah, 9 has some interesting lines there. I mean, has Disco Time in the lines, River Thames. I mean, has faced some toughies. So that's an interesting look there. Even Patch Adams in the back past performances there. So certainly has faced some tough horses. And you get the Apprentice Rider, who I think is solid enough. He still lacks a win at the meet. But that would be an interesting separator also. And a very astute little look there on the 9 in a race that that a lot of these first timers are going to take a lot of money. And, sometimes that horses with experience can find a way to beat them. So that's a good look at race number 7 for Friday at Keeneland. Jump to race number 8, grade 3 Bewitched Stakes, a typical closing day, going a mile and a half here, Michael. I thought a pretty straightforward race for me. I was a little chalky. What say you?
Yeah, I think there's kind of 2 situations that I think could play out in this race, and that's kind of how I'm going to play the pick 5. One is the horse that I think is the best horse in the race, gets a good enough trip, and is able to boss this field around a little bit, and that's the number 2, Immensitude. I think that she's kind of always been knocking at the door, but has had some straw in her path that would cause her not to get the job done since coming to the U.S. back at the beginning of 2024. But I think Friday might be the day for her to get this graded stakes score stateside. She's had some wide trips. She's been caught in traffic a couple times. And I think stretching out, I'm not entirely convinced that 12 furlongs is her best trip, but I am convinced that she's the most talented runner in this field. So I think if all else is fair, I think she is able to win this race. And the other situation that I'm going to play is if something goofy happens in this race. And I think the one play that could happen there is the number 4 Sand and Sea. And I think the number 4 Sand and Sea is a little interesting because this horse has not run often on the turf, but when she does run on the turf, she shows a lot of speed. And this comes in a race where there isn't much other speed. And so if you kind of go back through her turf races and her form lines, a win at Indiana Downs, and then two back, she ran off completely in the Kirtana. I'm willing to draw a line through that, as she had a 22-length lead at the half-mile pole, just too fast. But then if you scroll down a lot further, you'll see 2 route efforts, one at Keeneland and one at Kentucky Downs, where she set an above-average pace but was able to hang around late. And I think if she's able to, if Johnny is able to kind of coax her along on the front end, maybe put a little bit of space between him and the rest of the field, but not go overboard, I think she's dangerous to wire the field in an otherwise race where I would see Immensitude as the far and away most likely winner.
I definitely agree on Immensitude. This is a good look here too on your 4 Sand and Sea with the speed. That race she was in last time, that Latonia Turfway. Daniel's Beauty is a really nice horse. I mean, this horse is keeping good company here. It doesn't look as fast as these on paper, but has 8 lifetime wins. If you look, the 2 has 3 wins. The 3 has 3 wins. Those 2 are going to be far and away the top choices in the race. So she certainly likes to win. You're right. She's going to be in front. She's an interesting long shot. I definitely would add as a B in here, just given a lot of those points that you made, and agree on the 2, Immensitude. Interesting that Pratt shows up here because Junior is on the card and typically rides for the Mott Barn. Now you get Pratt in this race. So I'd imagine that they're going full blast trying to win this race. It has faced toughies. I mean, Beach Bomb, Be Your Best. There's just, a lot of class in her PPs. And you said, she doesn't want to go the 12 furlongs, but I don't think any of the other ones do either. And that's the problem. I think she might be a little bit better at it than the rest of these. So I agree. I think that she's the most likely winner. The 3 Forever After All is another one you can look at on the paper, and it is obvious. I mean, Brendan Washbarn, very massive Keeneland Meet. She's raced against toughies. Also, maybe this distance for her is going to suit more than most. But again, she's 3 for 23. She has 12 other shares. So she doesn't exactly have a nose for the wire. She likes to finish second a lot, and that's certainly possible again. And she's going to be bet in this race. She finished second by a nose in the Dowager in the fall here. Lost to Chop Chop, who certainly likes this course. I do think that she is probably a use on tickets, though. I mean, it's either the 2, the 3, but I would certainly add the 4. I think that is a pace play, certainly a live long shot to consider in the 8th race at Keeneland on Friday. Let's go to race 9, and it's a 3X on the dirt, mount an 8th, and it's the return of Unmatched Wisdom, who was 3 for 3 to start the career, ended up winning the Keeneland at Saratoga back in July of last year, was 2-5 in that race. Jumped into Travelers off that and faced the killers, Fierceness, Torpedo Anna, Sierra Leone. Ended up 7th in there, really. 7th out of 8, no chance. Did take money, though, sub 10-1 in there. Tried the PA Derby, and that was a merry-go-round race. And this horse was up close to the pace there, but Seeds the Gray ultimately just wired that field. Comes back in this race, is the class. Is probably supposed to win this race, but tough to come back at a mount an 8th off the bench. I know we talked about this off air, and you had some thoughts. The problem is there's not a lot of other ways to go here, Michael.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought about it. And when you have a horse like Unmatched Wisdom, who is going to be far and away the most singled horse on the pick 5 sequence, if you are with him, which I am in this spot, then you kind of have to be kind of all in with him. And so I've kind of decided that I think he's kind of the stakes horse, so to speak, in a field of allowance horses. I think that's kind of the line you gave off air as well. That and if he comes back with his B game, which I think you probably saw in the allowance, or even in the like I would say slightly troubled trip in the Pennsylvania Derby, I think that'll be enough to beat the rest of this field. So essentially taking the pick 5 and turning it into a pick 4 surrounding this guy, who I'm sure Chad and Klarovich have aspirations of being a player in the older male division this year. And this is probably a kicking off point on to stakes races for the rest of the year.
Is there anybody else you can consider in here, maybe as a backup or, something underneath? The only other horse I saw that was interesting to me was the 7 Black Powder. Was able to beat Bishop's Bay back at Oaklawn back in January. It was 50-1 in there, and backed that up with a really nice race, I thought, in an allowance race following that. And then, ended up with a dud in the American Pharaoh. But they did enter there, faced Bishop's Bay again there. Really just no chance the way the race shaped, outside post. Do you think that horse can get a piece? Do you like anything else?
Yeah, I thought, as I kind of went through it, there was a few easy tosses in the race. And then the other 5 or so, the 2, 3, 6, 7, and 9, they kind of all looked similar to me on paper as like a percentage chance for them to upset Unmatched Wisdom. So for me, I'm going to be playing the pick 5 Stone Cold to Unmatched Wisdom. But if someone is asking which exacta should I play, I would probably steer them to trying to look at the exacta probables and find the one with one of those numbers that's paying the highest number and maybe key a couple of those. Because I don't think playing 1-2 or 1-3 is worth your money, but maybe a cold 1-6, 1-7, or 1-9 could be worthwhile if you don't want to play Unmatched Wisdom through the pick X's.
Jump to the last, back to the grass. It's the closing race at Keeneland for the spring meet. Mount a 16th. Michael, how are we going to get paid here?
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the more open races in the sequence. We've kind of detailed a few favorites that we think are pretty strong. And then, we each have a couple outsiders that we're going to be including on the A line to hope spice this up. But then this is kind of the last chance to add a price to the ticket and have this pick 5 pay a little bit more. For me, I thought the number 2 Sweet Freedom was a little interesting. Was 44-1 over this course and distance last fall, and actually was only beaten 2 1/4 lengths for all the money. So I like that. And the Medina Barn is one that's known to hit for a price at this meet. And then the number 3 Sardis. This is the type of Mike Maker horse that wins and pays $40. The one that has a lot of dirtied up form on paper, gets back to a turf route, which Maker is very adept at. And he's only routed on turf twice, and I think neither of them were that spectacular of efforts, but one was almost too bad to believe, and the last one came at Gulfstream, which a lot of times horses' form doesn't transfer super well from Gulfstream to Keeneland. So I'm willing to give this number 3 a good chance as well. And then from the logicals, I would probably elevate the number 11 Samud out of the rest to be on the A line. This is a Kitten's Joy colt out of La Hudud, who won the 2007 Breeders' Cup Villian Mare Turf. And that was a race with over a course with some given the ground, which you never know you might have at Keeneland on Friday as well. Switches to turf after a poly prep, which was super useful to get the career going. And now I think gets to the surface that he's always wanted. But then there's a couple others that you could make a case for as backups. Probably the Cherie DeVoe horse, the number 1, the number 4, Tempest Volat, I think is one you could also include on the stretch out. I'm a little bit against the number 7 Tickled Quist, who is probably going to go favored here. It just seems like to me like those Brad Cox horses, they either win early in their career or they stick around banging around this maiden special weight level until they eventually drop and get claimed and then kind of disappear. So that would be the one I would be kind of against at the short price and try to get one of those other ones home to blow up this pick 5 a little bit.
Agree on the 11. Definitely that one plays well, especially for that barn. And the mare there, La Hudud, obviously hasn't produced anything close to herself necessarily, but is that's class on both ends of that pedigree. And you get Jose Ortiz now. I do think that this is a spot they are trying to win. I think the 8's interesting here. Operation Sunrise. It's a first timer for Mon. I know he doesn't necessarily win a lot first time, but he's capable with a first time starter here. And this is another one that has plenty of breeding. This horse raced over in Dubai, tried the Godolphin Mile, was a grade 3 winner over there. So, and a grade 2 winner actually also, and has, produced some nice ones. Antoinette is one that comes to mind. So, that's a horse that I think has the pedigree, is juniors on here. I do think that this horse could be well meant in this race. It's certainly working well enough, and it's probably going to get lost on the board when you got the Cox in here. You have some others that are going to take money. So I think that I would want to use that one. Agree on your 4. I think that's another one that's certainly very well bred. It's not this time. Started 5.5 on the grass there at Fairgrounds and raced well enough. Ended up closing up to be 3rd. This horse wants to go longer, and it's Asmussen. You get Rosario here. That's I know that they haven't really done well at Keeneland, but definitely one of his main men that he shows up with. So I think that one is interesting. The horse you mentioned, the 3, that one is interesting also. Had the goofy Gulfstream line, but that race prior ran into to Tucson, who galloped here this past weekend, and Chow Chuck came out of that race to race very well too. So that's a nice piece of form there, going a mount of 16th, that synthetic race. This horse could be a little hidden, and I think that you probably could add to tickets in a very, very wide open race. If the 13 draws in, that's another one to look at. Chad Brown comes off the bench, double bar at Tampa, ended up second. Another one that probably will take money, but if that one draws in, definitely need to pay attention to that one. Well, Michael, always good to get your thoughts. Appreciate everything that you do on the written side for InTheMoneyPodcast.com. Final thoughts as we head out of Keeneland into Churchill and to Derby Week.
Yeah, it's another exciting week to close out Keeneland, and it kind of rolls right into Churchill on Saturday night. So I know I'll be taking a crack at the Twin Spires contest on Friday, which they normally seed the pool a little bit. They give out a few more seats than the prize pool. The prize pool is fed into, so that's a good opportunity to qualify for to get into the Saturday qualifier for the KDBC, which will be on the Churchill races that night, and hopefully work my way into the Kentucky Derby betting challenge and throw my name in the ring as a live contest player to watch out for.
Well, tons of Derby coverage on the network, especially next week. Maybe we can grab you for a plus show. Definitely want to get your thoughts on the Derby and the Churchill week, the Churchill doings as well for next week. So hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
This has been a production of In the Money Media. I hope you enjoyed all the Keeneland coverage. Get ready because Derby week is coming. We'll talk to you all soon.